Te Timber Rattlesnake was collected, a kinetic spring of muscle and venom hidden beneath the fence. Its rattle was te only warning, a tree, bone chilling booze tat cut troke te humidity of te Appalachian afternoon. Elias turned froze. As a former park ranger turned wilderness guide, he knew that sound better than his own headbeat. But the woman standing 10 feet away didn't. She was looking up at the canopy, admiring the white sunlight splintered troke te pine nails. She wore a hiking gear that was technically correct but look at lige it had been unboxed 10 minutes ago, pristine boots, a stiff jacket, and a backpack that wasn't sitting right on her shoulders. Don't move, Elias said, his voice a low rumble. The woman turned, startled. Ekfuse me. Look down. Slowly. To your left. She looked. The color drained from her face so fast Elias thought she might find. She took a stumbling step backward, the worst thing she called to. The snake struck. It was a blur of motion, but Elias was faster. He lunged, tackling the woman sidewise into the damp yet just as the viper's fangs snapped shut on the empty air where her calf had been a split second before. The momentum carried them down a steep embankment. They tumbled through briars and mud, coming to a halt in a tangle of limbs at the bottom of a ravine. Elias groaned, sitting up and checking his arm where a rock had grazed him. You okay? The woman was gasping for air, her eyes wide. She clutched her ankle. It beat me. Oh God, it beat me. Elias scrambled over, ripping the velcro on her pant leg. There were two puncture wounds just above her boat line. They weren't deep, legally a grazing streak during the tumble, but with a timber rattler, you couldn't take a chance. Okay, listen to me, Elias said, his voice shifting into professional command. I'm going to stabilize this. My cabin is 2 miles east. We can't wait for a chopper in this canopy. Am I going to die? She asked, her voice trembling. Not on me watch, Elias said. He pulled a pressure bandage from his belt kit, wrapping the leg efficiently. What's your name? Sarah, she whispered. Okay, Sarah. I'm Elias. I need you to stay calm. Heck heart rate moves the venom fast. I'm going to carry you. The trek was brutal. The ski opened up, unleashing a torrent of cold rain that turned the trail into a mudslide. Sarah drifted in and out of consciousness, the shock and the venom beginning to tag at all. Elias didn't stop. He howled her over fallen logs and through swollen creeks, his muscles screaming. Bite time he kicked open the door of his rock-hewn cabin, neck had fallen. He laid her on the cot near the wood stove. He had anti-venom in his emergency fridge, a pack of living teas far out, and he administered it with steady hands. For the next 6 hours, he didn't sleep. He monitored her vitals, wiped the sweat from her forehead, and kept the fire going. Around 3:00 am, the fever broke. Her eyes fluttered open, landing on him. He was sitting in a rocking chair, whittling a piece of cheddar to stay awake. You're still here, she rasped. No here else to be, Elias said, handing her a tin cup of water. She drank greedily. Why did you help me? You could have just called for help and waited. You would have been dead by the time they found a landing zone, Elias said simply. Besides, out here, we don't leave people behind. Sarah looked around the cabin. It was modest, exposed beams, a wall of books, maps of the terrain. It is pitiful here. Quit. That's the point. I came out here to get lost, she admitted softly. To run away from noise. Expectations. I talked if I walked far enough into the woods, it figure out who I was. Elias looked at her. In the fairy-like stripped of pretension, covered in mud, and fighting for her life, she didn't look like a tourist. She just looked like a survivor. The woods have a way of stripping you down to the studs, Elias said. You did good, Sarah. You stayed talk. She smiled, a genuine, tired thing. Thank you, Elias. The morning broke the sound of thumping rotors. Elias stepped onto his porch, expecting a medevac. Instead, a sleek, black, dual-cabine helicopter, taking that cost more than the entire county, hovered over his clearing. 3 men in tactical gear fast dropped down, followed by a man in an immaculate suit holding a briefcase. Elias instinctively stepped back toward the door, hand hovering near his belt knife. Can I help you? The man in the suit ignored him, rushing toward the cabin door just as Sarah limped out, leaning on the door frame. Miss Vance, the suit cried out. Thank God. The boat is in a panic. Your father has the entire eastern seaport looking for you. Elias froze. Vance? He looked at Sarah. She closed her eyes, a look of profound defeat crossing her face. I'm fine, Arthur, she said, her voice suddenly sharp, authoritative, a tone she hadn't used once during the night. This man saved me life. Arthur, the assistant, turned to Elias and looked him up and down with a mixture of disdain and relief. I say. Well, Tony, Elias said, his voice cold. Matone. You have a take rate to the of the Vance Corporation. We will, of course, compensate you for your trouble. Atta pulled a checkbook from his jacket. Name your prig. Elias looked at the checkbook, 10 at Sarah. Sarah Pina Vance. Te Heiress to te Vance energetic empire. Te woman whose face was on magazines in a very grocery store checkout line, magazines Elias who said to start fires. She wasn't just a hika, she was worth billions. Keep your money, Elias said. Sarah stepped forward. Elias, please. It didn't do it for a payout, Elias said, turning away to check te word bill, effectively dismissing them. Get her to a hospital? Te antivenom stabilizes, but she needs observation. Elias, Sarah sighed again, her voice cracking. He didn't look back. He couldn't. He had felt a connection in that cabin, something real, grounded in the yacht and survival. But saying that helicopter, the security team, the suite, it was a stark reminder. She was a creature of the ski and skyscrapers, he was a creature of the dirt. Sarah was ushered into the helicopter. As it lifted off, blasting debris across his yacht, Elias finally looked up. She was watching him through the glass, her hand pressed against the window. 2 weeks later, Elias was chopping wood, the rhythm of the axe providing the only meditation that worked. He tried not to think about the quiet in the cabin. It had been quiet for 10 years, but for some reason, the silence felt heavier now. The sound of an engine crunching over gravel made him pause. He expected a ranger truck. Instead, he saw a dusty, beat-up Land Rover pull into his drive. The driver's door opened. Sarah stepped out. She wasn't wearing the new hika costume. She wore jeans that were properly broken in, a flannel sheet, and boots that had seen mud. She limped slickly, but she walked with purpose. She didn't have a security detail. She didn't have a checkbook. She held a 6-pack of local beer and a bag of coffee beans. Elias rested his axe on the stump. You're a long way from the penthouse, Miss Vance. She walked up to the fence line. I told you, my name is Sarah. Does your father know you're here? My father and I came to an understanding, she said, setting the beer on the fence post. I told him I was done being a showpawn. I told him I learned more about value in on a night in a cabin than I did in 4 years of business school. Elias crossed his arms, leaning against the wood bill. Is that so? You saved me life, Elias. And then you turned down $5 million because you were insulted? She smiled. That makes you the only honest man I've ever met. I wasn't insulted, Elias said softly. I was disappointed. I thought I met a woman, not a portfolio. Sarah climbed over the fence. It wasn't grateful, but she didn't care. She stood in front of him, the smell of rain and expensive shampoo clinging to her. You met a woman, she said firmly. The portfolio stayed in the seat. I'm just here to pay a debt. Elias raised an eyebrow. I told you I don't want the money. Ignore, she said, cracking open two beers and handing him on. That's why I broke the beer. And I was hoping you could teach me how to actually pack a backpack. Apparently I did it wrong. Elias took the beer. He looked at her, really looked at her. The Heiress was gone. The survivor was back. He clinked his bottle against hers. First lesson, Elias said, a small smile breaking through his beard. Put the heavy stuff at the bottom.